Okay, like I said, there's 3 reactions of chlorines. 3 reactions of chlorine you need to know. So let's just start it off with chlorine and water. This is just cold water. There's another reaction with chlorine and water in a moment. This is no frills, no attachments. It's a reversible reaction, which I'll come back to in a moment, and it makes HCl, which I'm sure you've heard of, and HOCl. HOCl. First of all, what type of reaction is this? I said it was a special kind of redox reaction. Does that help?
Is it disproportionation?
It is disproportionation. Can you explain what a disproportionation reaction is?
One element is being oxidized and reduced.
One element is being oxidized and reduced. So that, of course, is chlorine. Starts off at oxidation state 0 and then becomes... Sean?
-1.
And also becomes...
+1.
Perfect. So chlorine's the only element being oxidized and reduced. So yes, disproportionation. That absurd word seems to go on far too long. Same element being oxidized and reduced simultaneously in the reaction. Okay. What's this reaction used for? That's not a very good question. When do we put chlorine in water? That's a better question. When is that used in daily life?
Sanitization of pools.
Oh, pools. Okay, so swimming pools. So I'm sure you've been to pools and swimming pools and stuff, but because of lockdowns and stuff, probably we got out of the habit of swimming quite a lot for a couple of years. But if you can picture that, walking into the swimming pool and that smell, that swimming pool smell is chlorine. You said sanitization. I'm not sure that's a word. Can you come up with a better word?
Cleaning.
No, I won't accept cleaning. Pools still have, sticking plasters and hair on the bottom. They can often be dirty places. What's the chlorine put into the water for?
Kill bacteria.
Kill bacteria. So we talk about when you get your alcohol gel on your hands to kill the bugs. What do we say? What's a better word? Help them. It's not coming up. Disinfect.
Antibacterial.
Yeah, antibacterial is just another way of saying it kills bacteria. Disinfect or sterilize? Okay. Okay, so swimming pools to kill bacteria. What's the other use?
Drinking water.
How is it used in drinking water?
It's used in one of the stages of treating water. So
That's right, yeah, it's water treatment. Usually at the end they put in chlorine. Sometimes you can smell a bit of chlorine as the water comes out of your tap, especially if you run it fast for quite a long time with a glass underneath it and stick your nose over the glass. You can sometimes smell the chlorine, and it comes and goes a bit as well. Again, we're doing that to kill bacteria, yeah? Why is that okay though? Why is it okay to put what's basically a poison into drinking water? I mean, obviously we want to kill bacteria, but surely poisons are bad for us too?
It's concentration that's not deadly for us, but it's toxic enough for bacteria.
Okay, so kills bacteria, not people. Now we use it as a low enough concentration that it's not going to do us any harm. Swimming pool's slightly higher concentration, but that's okay. You're probably not going to be drinking much of the swimming pool water, maybe a little bit, but it won't harm you. Although sometimes if you're in the pool for a long time, you get stinging eyes, especially if you don't have any goggles on. Yeah, that's the chlorine coming at you there. Okay, good. Oh, one thing I didn't do was name HOCl. Okay, that is called chloric 1 acid. So the 1 there, Roman numeral 1, is the oxidation state of chlorine plus 1 in the molecule. Okay. Second reaction is very similar. It's the reaction of chlorine and water. But this time we're going to add some sunlight. You've already come across sunlight and chlorine before, haven't you? What did you just say? Someone said? Radicals, that's right. So so this reaction must have a radical kind of mechanism going on. So you can do an interesting reaction where you get a burette and you fill it up with chlorine solution or chlorine water, as it seems to be known, and then leave it for a few days in the sunlight, a couple of weeks actually, and you'll get a little bubble of gas appearing in the top, which you might think, well, it's chlorine solution, so it's probably chlorine gas, but it's not. It's oxygen. And the other product is HCl. Could you balance that, please? And in the process of balancing it, can you tell me what's being oxidized, what's being reduced?
Oxygen's been oxidized, chlorine's been reduced.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
What number have you put in front of HCl?
4.
4. Two of those, isn't it? Yeah. All right. Chlorine is going from oxidation state 0 down to -1, so chlorine's been reduced. Oxygen is going from oxidation state -2 up to 0, so oxygen's being oxidized. Okay, so that's a bit of an oddity in a way, that reaction, but kind of an interesting one. Reaction 3 is a lot more useful. That's chlorine and sodium hydroxide. In fact, it's similar to the first reaction we looked at because it's another disproportionation reaction. But if you imagine if you had HCl and sodium hydroxide together, they would make HCl and sodium hydroxide would make
Sodium chloride.
Yeah, very quiet there. So we get sodium chloride instead of hydrochloric acid, and then we get NaOCl, similar to HOCl. So again, disproportionation reaction. Chlorine's gone from 0 to -1 and +1. NaCl, you know, is sodium chloride. NaOCl, whenever we have an oxygen with the other element, we add 8 to the end of the name. So carbon becomes carbonate, nitrogen becomes nitrate, sulfur becomes sulfate. So instead of chloride, it's chlorate. And then again, we put the oxidation state on the end there. So sodium chlorate 1 is the name of NaOCl. NaOCl, you need to know that, as well as the chlorate 1 acid. Okay, now that's a very useful reaction. Why? What is NaOCl used for?
Is it in bleach?
It is. It is the main ingredient in bleach. Well done. Okay. And just a little bit of background. You don't actually need this for A level, but you've done it in GCSE. Where do we get chlorine from? Which process makes chlorine gas? Do you remember? Think back to your GCSE topic 6. Which process produces chlorine gas? Any ideas? The other group didn't get this either. Your GCSE stuff's a long time ago.
Electrolysis.
Oh, well done. Electrolysis of? Salt, exactly right. So if we have aqueous sodium chloride, you might remember if I electrolyse that, the water gets involved. I'll make chlorine. Sodium's above hydrogen in the reactivity series, so instead of getting sodium, we get you know this.
What was the question, sir?
You don't get sodium produced for aqueous sodium hydroxide. Sorry, for aqueous sodium chloride, because sodium is above hydrogen in the reactivity series. What's the other product?
NaOH.
You do get NaOH. There's another product as well. How do we balance that? I need 2 of those, so I need 2 of those.
HCl.
No, it's gas.
Hydrogen.
Hey?
Hydrogen.
Okay. Amusingly, electrolysis, which most of you found fairly tough as a GCSE topic, is not on the A-level syllabus. So, yay!
It's not.
It's not on the A-level at all. You're never going to do any more electrolysis ever. So I'm sorry I brought it into your life unnecessarily. But it's important because we need to consider the local chemical industry, because this happens at a big plant in Runcorn. Used to be called Ineos, but it's now been taken over by a company. I just wrote it down. It's now called Innovin, where they take sodium chloride from the local salt mines in Cheshire and pass electricity through it and make chlorine and sodium hydroxide. And then, of course, you've got chlorine and sodium hydroxide. Stick those two together and you've got bleach. And you've also got chlorine to make polyvinyl chloride, which is a very useful plastic, which is made there as well. So there's a massive factory. You drive past it on the M56 on your left. You got the 2 big hills on your right, whose name I can't remember. What are they called? You just come out of Cheshire. Just come past Chester, and you join the M56. Stanley Oil Refineries on your left. Hey? And then there's there's some fields and nice wind turbines. It's quite pretty, cows. But in the distance, this massive factory, which is Runcorn's. Well, there's 2 actually. There's the old Ineos chlorine factory, and then next to that, there's a fluorine factory, Mexican Fluor, where they take fluoride minerals from Mexico and turn them into fluorine. and make more polymers there, PTFE, polytetrafluoroethylene. Anyway, I digress. None of that you need to know. But you do need to know that NaOCl is called sodium chlorate 1 and it's used as bleach. And just while we're doing interesting facts, swimming pools, they do not have large cylinders of chlorine gas in the back room because of the danger of death that would cause. So they use, instead of sodium chlorate, they use calcium chlorate, CaOCl2, calcium chlorate, which is a solid. It comes in big bins, and then they pass HCl over that and make chlorine that away. So you just have a very dilute solution of HCl washes over the calcium chlorate, and then that makes chlorine, and then that goes straight into the swimming pool. Plus other things. I'm sure we could work that out. Okay. That's all I want to say about that.